Doesn't it sound like heaven to love your teen so well that they can't help themselves but love you back? Welcome to Pivot Parenting. I'm your host, Heather Frazier. And together, you and I are going to build more peace and joy so that your family looks forward to being together in the fun times and so that you are strong enough to overcome any obstacle that your family might face. This is where small weekly shifts that you implement create lasting change so that peace and happiness can truly abound in your home. Welcome, my friend, to Pivot Parenting. We are doing our series on love. I love love. And when you think about your teen, let me ask you, do you experience worry, frustration, a need for them to change or for you to have more control over what's happening? Do you feel yourself bouncing between anger and apathy, just trying to find somewhere soft to land? Do you care so much about them that you find yourself being tied into a pretzel just to please them or to stop the fighting? And if it works, it's short-lived. If this is at all relatable, you could be misunderstanding and misapplying love in your family and relationships. This is my 12-episode series on love. Today we are going to be talking about how love does not in fact hurt. Doesn't matter how many songs have been sung that love hurts. It does not. Listen in as we put the fear, frustration, and heartbreak behind us, because I'm going to teach you how to embrace love so well that your relationship with your child and yourself and your spouse and everyone else cannot help but improve. Now, this series on love, there are 3 foundational pieces that you really need to understand before you branch out into other diverse aspects of love, which today's episode is one of those diverse aspects. So if you have not listened to episode 310, 311, and 312, I invite you to go do that, because every episode moving forward builds on those 3. Primary or foundational aspects of love. So let's talk about love hurting. This is a really common misunderstanding of love. I have a senior and she has a lot of friends. Let's imagine that one of her friends may or may not graduate. And let's say that this friend also has a strained relationship with her parents. And so her parents don't know if she's going to graduate. They fight about it. They're not getting along, and it's really painful for the parents. The parents are feeling less love for themselves, less love for their child. They're feeling a lot of pain. Now, I have coached enough parents to know that a lot of things masquerade as love that are not in fact love. A lot of them are fear and worry and anxiety and judgment. And it all boils down to one flavor when we can really narrow in on what's going on. And that is the reflection of the child upon the parent. And I don't mean this in an egotistical way. I mean every parent, when they hold their baby or when they're expecting, they don't think to themselves, I'm going to be the crappiest parent and my kid's not going to turn out well. No, they do not. They think, I am going to love this child so well. They will want for nothing. And I will teach them and I will love them and we will get along and we will have a beautiful relationship. And so when that doesn't happen, humans who are neurologically normal blame themselves. And sometimes as parents, it hurts so much when we think it might be our fault that we like to blame our kid. And we say if they would just have gotten up and gone to class. If they would have confided in me what was going on, I could have helped them. But when it comes down to it, parents take the hit. They think that they have failed, and that is what hurts. I know, spoiler alert. Okay, so let me break this down for you. You have this circumstance of this hypothetical situation where the parents and the daughter are miscommunicating. So we have their communication patterns as the circumstance. Maybe they only yell or avoid one another, for example. And the parents are thinking, we can't even talk. My kid hates me. I quite frankly don't like being around them anymore. And the belief that they have failed, therefore I have failed. They're going to fail out of high school. I didn't help them enough. They didn't help themselves enough. We've all failed. And the feeling that thoughts like that can create are hurt and heartbreak. So one might say those are the opposite of love because it hurts. So then the parents withdraw or overreact and try to micromanage. This one's my personal favorite. Creating imaginary conversations. I create scenarios in my head where I'm really clever and really smart and I always know the right thing to say. And the person that I'm talking to always says exactly what I need them to say in order for me to be really smart. Do you guys do this? Or really rude and like snarky and put them in their place? Does this ever happen to you? Mostly what happens is that person and I will actually have a conversation and I don't say or do any of those things. And it does not go how I imagine in my head. But then that night as I'm trying to fall asleep, I'm like, oh, I should have said this or I could have said that. Or anyway, I'm very delayed in my wit and humor and sass. I have a child who is not. And she's hilarious and I love her quick wit. But this is what parents tend to do. So they'll ping pong between withdrawing and being apathetic, like throwing up their arms, do whatever you want. I tried to help you, so figure it out yourself. Or overreacting with anger or micromanaging. We can replay scenarios and conversations in our head, picking them apart, overanalyzing, microanalyzing, blowing things up to worst case scenario. Because let's imagine these parents who are pretty certain their kid isn't going to graduate. What if we talk to the kid? Now, the kid and the parent can't really have a civil conversation right now. But what if the kid was like, yeah, I've been working with my counselor. We have a plan in place. I'm going to graduate. It's not a big deal. But because this child can't actually have a civil conversation with her parents don't know that. What if that were the case? And so the kid is thinking worst case scenario, like my parents hate me and they don't trust me and they think I'm a loser. And the parents are thinking my kid is a loser and I'm a loser because my kid is a loser because I did this to them or I couldn't help them even though I tried. They wouldn't let me help them. And I told them everything to do and they didn't listen. And so the result is that nothing good happens. It is a cycle where you create more of what you fear or what you don't want because you don't know anything different than what you are doing. So they continue to not talk and just to yell and avoid and think that the other person is the reason why. And they think that they're struggling in love. They're not struggling in love. Well, they are. They're struggling to apply love to themselves and to the other person. But they think, these parents think that they are trying to love their child by figuring out how to get them to graduate, by managing them. But managing or controlling or manipulating or trying to get the person to behave in a way that they don't want to is not, in fact, love. Imagine your teen walking into the room and your heart skips a beat because you're so excited to see them. Just connection, love, and peace flowing between you. You're confident that no matter their mood, it's going to be okay. This is the powerful skill set my clients gain. Book a free Discover Your Disconnection Pattern call with me, and I will outline your exact process to find the peace, connection, and confidence in your teen and their future you're wanting. Visit my website, heatherfrazier.com, or click the link in the show notes. Remember, Frazier is spelled with a Z-I in the middle. I look forward to meeting and helping you. This is one of the most common misconceptions of love, and parents will frame it like, well, I'm just helping them, or I'm just worried about them, or it's my job to teach them. And I'll say, okay, how do you know when you've taught them? And they always get to the point where like, well, then they apply it. No. Teaching and them learning are two vastly different things. But parents think that they haven't taught it until their kid agrees with and does whatever they have taught. That is not the way it works. And this can be really frustrating because then we think, well, my kid doesn't love me. They don't listen to me. Or I didn't love my kid enough and now they're in this pickle. But this is all assuming something that is false about love, which is that love cannot be applied when your kid doesn't graduate high school, or that love should be the only emotion. Listen, would it be a bummer if our kids didn't graduate high school? Yeah, 9 times out of 10, that'd be a bummer. I can imagine situations where it wouldn't be that big of a deal as well. So you and I, we are vastly complex creatures with really capable brains that are ready to be trained. And here is the exact process to be able to apply love in situations where our brain is saying that love should yield a certain result, or that love is hurting, and that we have to fix some things in order for love to not hurt. Here's the salve or the fix. Number 1, separate out love and the other emotions at play. Because I can imagine a parent worried about their child graduating, and they can feel worry and they can feel love. They can feel heartbreak at unmet expectations of what their child's potential or future could be, and they can also have love. And I want you to know that this is not like a pie chart where like I'm feeling 50% love and then 20% disappointment and 30% frustration. No. Love has its own pie. And so do all the other emotions. So we can 100% feel love and we can 100% feel sadness, for example. One does not take away from the capacity of another. They're different pie charts. So that's number 1. Separate out love and any other emotions that you have at play, like hurt, frustration, anger, resentment, heartache. A lot of moms that I talk to feel like that they wasted their life for no good reason because their kid doesn't even like them. It's really hard for your love to be high when you're feeling that kind of hurt, rejection, resentment. Okay? But you still can. Because it's not like resentment takes up 90%, so you can only feel 10% of love. You can still feel 100% love for that child. We have to separate out. I was talking with a friend the other day, and this friend has a child who has gone no contact. And this child is married and in their late 20s. And they can see how this person's spouse has really whispered in their ear, and they first went no contact with the spouse's parents, and now they're doing it with them. And while they weren't perfect parents, they were good parents, having this kid grow up and still loving this child. And she was such a good example, this mom, of this pie chart theory that I'm teaching you. She had 100% love for this child who was refusing to talk to her or their siblings. 100% love. And she could hold space for them to do what they needed to do and live the life that they wanted and have heartbreak and all of the other emotions that of course would be part of your child not wanting to talk to you. Of course they would be part of it. But she was a wonderful example of maintaining 100% love for her child. So that's what I mean when we separate it out. And then number 2, we have to decide what emotions are ours to solve and what emotions we can hand back to other people, like our child or our spouse or the neighbors that we think might judge us or our in-laws, right? We have to decide what emotions or what work is mine and what can I let go of. There are things that we cannot control in life, and that's everybody else's thoughts, feelings, and actions. It's a really simple way. So the way you are feeling, the way you are thinking, and the way you are acting, that is your business. And what everybody else, including your child, let's say your child blames you for a lot of their struggles. Own what is true and allow them to work through that because those are their emotions. Going back to a kid who might not graduate high school, she might blame her parents for micromanaging her so she doesn't even want to do anything because they're annoying. Did you know some kids are so stubborn that they will cut off their nose to spite their face? In other words, they will give their parents the middle finger by not doing what is in their best interest. Because their parents are so micromanagey that they can't handle it. And even though the kid knows that they should be doing their homework or going to bed, it is more important to win the power struggle in the moment. So they give their parent a big fat proverbial middle finger by not coming home or going to bed on time and by not graduating. Some kids are that stubborn. So we have to decide what is ours to solve for and what is our child to solve for. So ours would be how we choose to think, feel, and act. And as I have said in many episodes, love is the most powerful force on earth, and that should be the catalyst in all of our words and actions. And that's why you have to look at step number 1, which is to look at all of your emotions. And if love isn't the primary emotion, then we need to do some sorting out and some processing of emotions before we approach any conversation with our kid, because it won't go as well. Even if we fake it, our kids can tell. So we actually just really want to approach them primarily from love. And it's not going to be with no other emotions when the stakes are high. But if that can be the leading emotion, things will go better. And this is our 3rd step, to choose love to drive our words and actions. And it is okay to have heartbreak. Part of this is accepting that hurt is in fact part of life and parenting. And that hurt can come in the form of heartbreak, disappointment, frustration, trying to process a sense of failure. That is normal. Let me repeat that. That is normal. It is normal for your child to not fulfill your fantasy of what you thought they would be, and for you to feel upset by that. So what are you going to do about it? This is precisely where we think love hurts, because we think that we love our child so much, we have this expectation, or we see their potential. We have this fantasy of what their life could be. And it might be the most beautiful thing ever. And if it's not what they're choosing, we think that loving them hurts. But really, it's our own delusion that they should fulfill our fantasy of who we want them to be. And you might say, no. I don't care if they want to be a doctor, a lawyer, or stay-at-home mom, or, well, I promise you, you have some kind of fantasy of who you want them to be, even if it's as basic as I don't want them to be a drug user. That doesn't seem very fantastical. But if they are using drugs, then you have this fantasy of them not liking drugs and they're not fulfilling that expectation. And so it hurts. That is okay. Again, we are complex critters. We can hold the blah, 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 blah. We are capable, when we practice, of holding the hurt or disappointment or sense of failure that we might choose for ourselves when they are not meeting an expectation. And we can choose to act with love. And this goes back to one of those base episodes when I taught you how to love yourself. When we can more fully love ourselves and calibrate our nervous system, we can extend that love to a child who is not meeting the expectation or their potential that we see. Because if we love our kids, and I'm guessing you do because you are here listening to me, you love your kid, that means you see so much potential in them. And you see all their beautiful qualities. It is okay for you to feel sad that they aren't yet realizing those. And still, your pie chart of love can be maxed out at 100%. While you are doing your work to process that sadness or to let go of the resentment or whatever the side emotions are that are your business to deal with. How it can look when we choose to drive our words and actions with love. This isn't weak, it's not soft, and it's definitely not permissive, meaning you're a doormat or you let them walk all over you. Love is honest. And I don't mean that in a critical or unfiltered or unkind way. I mean it in a whole picture kind of way. It sounds like, I got this wrong. I shouldn't have yelled at you. I shouldn't have assumed the worst. I'm sorry I did that. I'm sorry I dropped the ball. I will take responsibility for my actions. And even though the lens in which you describe them isn't my intention or how I see them, I can validate and acknowledge that that is how you experience them. That's what's loving. So it's not saying, I'm sorry you feel that way. It's saying, I'm sorry. And your perspective, albeit different from mine, is just as valid. It's kind of like how we can all go to the same movie and some people hate it and some people like it. Doesn't make the movie any different. It's just two different experiences of the movie. And then moving forward with words and actions as well is holding to rules and consequences. A lot of people think love is soft and mushy and whatever. No. Love invites people to do the hard thing. Love invites people to be their very best. It means allowing our child to mess up and follow through with the consequences so that they learn, or they have the opportunity to learn. Love is not something that should be a prize for our child, or something that is withheld when they upset us. That is what hurts, the withdrawing of love. So that's number 3, choose to drive all our words and actions with love. That is a conscious choice. It is a muscle that you have to practice and strengthen and get good at. And you are perfectly capable of doing that. This is a really great tell for when we are misattributing love, when it's painful. We are in fact withdrawing, or we are diminishing our aspect, our pie chart on love, and that is what hurts. When we choose to stop loving our child because we're so disappointed in them, instead of doing this 3-step process of separating out love and the other emotions at play, deciding what is yours to solve for, and then choosing love to drive words and actions, we just say they're hard to love, and we withdraw our love, and that hurts because they are our child. Like I was mentioning at the beginning of the episode, this perpetuates this really painful and damaging cycle of hurt and heartbreak, of believing the worst about your child, of creating worst case scenarios in your head, of withdrawing and micromanaging because we are trying to find a sense of safety for ourselves where we don't feel rejected and we don't feel like a failure. Because we are miscalibrating that hurt and sadness of our child's potential failure or our potential failure as heartbreak and as a loss of love. It's just not the case. And let me use an extreme situation to show you what I mean. Let's imagine your kid gets in a really bad car crash 6 months before they graduate, and they are in such bad shape, they're alive, but they are unable to complete their degree. Or let's say they have terrible wounds on the inside that are harder to see, like they were assaulted, or they're experiencing massive depression, or OCD just took over their brain and now they can't leave the house, and they might not graduate high school. But you can see how their struggles are valid. It would be so much easier to not interpret their lack of graduating, because the reason that they wouldn't graduate would be 100% valid, and you would make peace with them not graduating. So because your brain doesn't feel like they have failed or you have failed, it's easier to love them. Or the other end of the spectrum, let's say they don't even need to graduate high school because they've been recruited by MIT or some fantastic academy, and they're like, you don't need to graduate. Come next month. We've got you. We have a place for you in NASA or wherever, right? Like the NBA. We don't care if you graduate. Just come be part of this awesome, successful thing. Then it would be easier to swallow that they haven't graduated high school because of something really fantastic, even better than your fantasy. Do you see how our thoughts around certain milestones or behaviors then informs our brain on our capacity to love? All we have to do is reinform it and retrain it. And this is the process. You separate out love and the other emotions at play, like disappointment. And then you solve for your unmet expectations, including a sense of failure or whatever else is going on for you. And then step 3, I'm going over this. I'm trying to pound this in to reiterate how you can separate out love and pain. Step number 3, choose to love to drive your words and actions. And then the bonus is that it's okay to have hurt and other emotions. It does not have to affect your ability to love. They are different pie charts. And if you don't believe me, there's a link in the show notes. Click that link and grab a time to talk with me. Explain your situation to me and let's discuss it. Let's discuss how you can still love your child from the most powerful, not weak or permissive stance, despite the pain. I promise it's possible. Okay, give this a try, and we will catch you next week.